Howdy all, Nimby here. Morning. Today we're going to be tying a American Coachman. It's an older style streamer. Fairly colorful. I don't have any dates or original tires for this one. We're going to be tying two different versions, one with calf tail and one with bucktail. From what I've been able to dig up, looks like the originals were originally tied with calf, and then some of the larger varieties were tied with bucktail. Looks like this is tied through from a size 6 through to a 12. I'm going to be taking a flattened portion off that's roughly about gap height. I'm just going to be taking some of the fluff out of the back. Use our comb here. There we go. Beauty. Calf tail doesn't stack all that well, but this seems to be kind of cattywampus with its sizes, so I'm gonna stack it. Just pop it in the hair stacker. Just to get, even if we get 20% of the fibers to play ball a little better. And it with a slightly nicer tail. There we go. No worries, Muddy. Thanks for dropping in and saying hi. Appreciate that. You have a good day at work, eh? I'll be working today too, just later. Okay, so we're going to want to make the tail about the working body length. Right about there. I'm just going to do a kind of soft wrap, hold it right on top there. And about 3 firm wraps going back to hold it in place. That looks like that sat really nicely right on top. Beauty. Now calf tail's pretty slippy, so I'm going to be tying this back. I want to go right back to that barb there. A couple more wraps, looks like. We're using a 6/0 uni again today. Aren't we all, Doug? I know, I was like slow moving this morning. But I got myself a nice good tea. Stash double bergamot Earl Grey this morning. Tasty. Yeah, we're just gonna cut off the waist. Actually, I'm looking at it. I think I might tie that in. Let's tie that in. Just gonna get rid of some loose guys. It's sitting so nicely up there. As I say that, it starts going all over the place. Come on, buddy. He was acting so nice to me before. Thought we'd build the body up a little bit. Not that it's a thick body fly or anything, but that'll do. Oh, this is just kind of your classic trout steelhead salmon streamer. More on the trout side of things. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. Alright, so we're going to be tying in for the body. It's a yellow wool yarn. It's a fairly long body, so I'm going to go about an extra hand width longer than I normally would. We're going to double back on the last third of it to give it a little bit of a taper up on that action. But for now, we're just going to be tying this in at the long length of the body. Just be holding it taut. Again, we're going to be doing several of these. One of them is going to be in bucktail, which is this one. Or sorry, not bucktail, calftail. And then the next one's going to be a bucktail. Okay, now we're just going to get that up in our material clip and get a half hitch on there, and we'll get the rotary going. Yeah, everyone's probably either working or sleeping tonight. I've got one checked off the list. I had a nice, went to bed a bit early because I was exhausted getting all the Christmas together. Okay, you just want to get it close to the tail without interrupting the tail, and I think we got that covered. And then just touching turn so that the thread isn't going to show through. And there's no segmentation wrap on this, so just the wool. Well, if you wanted to throw like a gold or silver tinsel, I think it would probably make it look pretty good. That's just not the original pattern. Maybe we'll throw a tinsel on the next one, just for kicks and giggles. Okay, now we're going to rotate back. We're going to be skipping our rounds, so we're wrapping about twice as far apart as we were before. Then when we stop here and go back, we'll get in the middle of those other grooves. So we have a nice smooth transition. There we go. That slight increase in the thorax area in the body just not only helps the fly look better, but helps it push some water and helps the wing and the hackle stand up. We're going to be putting both a wing and a hackle on this, so we do want to leave ample room up front. I think I got that handled. So normally for a wing and a hackle, I'll want a bodkin width, which is what we got there. Oh, buddy, I am not in the mood for you this morning. There we go. That's better. I need to take that song out of my playlist. There we go. Looks like I did pull a little too much off that one. So next time I'll just do my regular length. Look like that actually worked pretty well. Okay, so for now we're going to tie in some white calf tail, which is this guy. Whoop. These are just little kip cutoffs. You can use like a full-on proper calf tail. This one's just a little more on the whiffy side. This one's got longer fibers to it, so it works a little better for the overwing. And you don't need a whole lot. We want it to be roughly in a flattened manner. Just trying to separate it out a little bit here. About the gap height is still a little much. We're not creating a flag post, it's just to represent a wing. That's good. We want the wing to land between the butt and like the middle of the tail, right in that section there. I'm going to stack this because there is quite a bit of lower fibers that we could use. Doesn't have to be a perfect stack at all, just want to get some of those fibers forward. But first, the important part of cleaning it out so we can stack it properly. So we'll just grab all the short stuff that we're not going to be using. It's too short to tie in. And we'll pop that out. Quite a bit there, actually. Just be a moment getting this clean. Yeah, you don't want all that under fur and the extra fluff in there because it's not going to do us any good. There we are. So that's about as much as we want there. When you're cutting it off, you can always cut a little more than a little less is a good idea. Just because you can always take some out after to get it the right thickness that you're looking for. But it's a little harder to add a little more. And as you do it more often, you get a little better at judging the amounts. There, that's actually setting pretty good now. Calf can be a little hard to stack because it's so wispy, but it also has a bit of slip to it. Not quite as much as say squirrel or badger or other stuff, but Definitely has a good amount of slip to it. There, got a nice stacked out wing there now. I'm just gonna pack it like a snowball as we move back to our tie-in point. That's a nice little deal there. So we want it right, kind of right there. So packing a little bit farther back. Okay, we'll transfer it over. I'm gonna do a pinch wrap here. Lock that right on top. One more. Okay, and then a couple firm wraps up to hold it in place. Beauty. That one laid real nice. Quite happy with that. Okay, we're going to be cutting this off on about a 45. So we don't leave as much as stub, and we can tie in the waist a little easier. Ooh, buddy, you're way too energetic for this morning. There we go. There we go. Got a few longer fibers than I'd like here, so I'm just going to delete those. Must have skipped on my scissors a little bit. I do need to sharpen these guys again. I'm meaning to do a video on that. Need to contact, what's his name now? Al, I think. From Sharprite. I like watching his channel. Get some tips on proper technique and everything. I sharpen mine up all fine and good, but I mean that's what he does for a living, so I'm sure he can give me some better tips. Yeah, he's really good at it. Always reach out to the people that you know that not necessarily an expert in the field that you're looking to get better at, but they do it every day. That totally didn't cut down exactly where I wanted it to, so just give me a minute here and just trimming this up. I can use a Sharpie and dye that up black, but I'd rather not have any white hairs sticking out. We're going to be burying it pretty good because being a streamer fly, it's going to have a good size head on it. There we go. That should do. Like always, I'm being a little more picky than I need to be. So this is a fly for your box, and I'm going way overboard. So let's just hit that with a... If I have any black Sharpies left, they probably all became present marking Sharpies. Floating around the house somewhere. I got a big old magic marker, that'll do. It's not known for its precision, but it'll serve its purpose. So if you hit up these, especially white, like if you're using white quills or white hair like this, just hit it with a Sharpie. And it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to cover every single strand, but it'll make your life a whole lot easier trying to bury that in. Okay, and now I'm just going to slowly cover that all the way down. back up again, and we're just going to be working this ledge right here just to bring that up so it's a little more flat and square. Just for our hackle wraps, which is our next part. So that looks pretty good. I just don't want too much of an angle. That might still be a little bit of an angle, more than I want. This isn't necessarily the head, it's just the collar right before the head. And if we get a nice, as long as it's semi-flat, more ovaled, then the hackle will sit on it much nicer. There we go. And for hackle, I'm just using this, just Indian Cape. It's actually from Magpie Materials, but nothing special for that. Just a regular dirty brown Indian cock cape. It's a beautiful color though. Stefan really does a good job sourcing materials, even if the price isn't super high on it. These are the ones we're going to be using here. They just have a really nice kind of peppered ginger look to them with a real excellent shine. For a lower end cape, they're beautiful feathers. Now we're just going to strip all this off here and prep this feather up. We don't need a huge amount of hackle on this. They count, the original recipe calls for 5 wraps, which seems a little excessive to me, but that's what we're going to be going for, give or take. The only downside to Indian cock capes like this, I could have left a little bit of fronds on there and then cut them to give myself a little better tie-in point, but I'm going to use a different method for this one. Might do that on the next one, but for this one, I'm just going to drop my tool on the ground. One second. Apologize. I'm back. What we're going to do is just use a pair of hemostats. We can use any pliers you have that basically have a serrated jaw to them. And what I'm going to do is, with the direction of the rake and the feather grain there, I'm going to just clamp it and just tighten it, and I'll let go. And what that's going to do, without really interrupting the strength of the racus, it's going to put in very, very minute little teeth in it. The camera's probably not going to pick it up, but I'm sure you guys get the idea. Those teeth are going to bite into that. That'll give me a little more purchase on my with my thread there. And we'll just bury that down. I'm gonna get 1/2 hitch here, just up front above our tie-in point where we're gonna be building our head after. And our head will be built from about here to here. We'll fill in that gap after. Feel like using the rotary pliers today. Give that a shot here. I get it to go into the pliers. There we go. Get my bobbin cradle out of the way. Now these are meant to be tied in like a wet fly style, so I'm going to be pushing these back after with a couple thread wraps. And just palmering them back a little bit. But we'll get our 1 wrap. We'll try for 5. I think we'll probably end up closer to 4. Not quite sure I got enough on there for another wrap, so might just end it right there. Just kind of walking my thread up a little bit so it's closer to the tie-off point. Three good firm wraps on there. We'll do one more. That seemed to tie off pretty well. There we be. Yeah, as we build our head back, I'm going to be holding these fronds back, and we'll just... The front ones will basically hold the back ones in place. We don't need a whole lot. Water's going to do most of the pushing for us. Just want it to be sitting... Oop, lost one frond there. Just want it to be sitting on a slight angle backwards. And this should do that for us. Start building up that head now. We just want a nice kind of olive shaped, not a little rounder than a football, but like an olive shaped head. I like a good sized, round, almost classic head on streamers like this. There we go. 2 1/2 inches, we'll get a whip finish on that. There we go. That's a class. Turned out well. Got one or two wispy bits up here, but that's hard not to have happen with calftail. Overall, that's really good. You can get, if it is acting up on you, you can get it wet. Sometimes that'll help. Anti-static cloths can help. Oh, we're just gonna put some head cement on here. Make it all nice and shiny. That'll soak in to our thread base there. And then we're going to do a little bit of Sally Hansen's. That'll shine it up, and that'll mix in with the head cement. The acetone and the head cement will cut it down quite a bit, but help it to soak into the thread fibers at the same time. There we are. Okay, we're just going to rotate that as it dries into our rotation and spiel here. Well, it's American Coachman, tied on a size 6 2x long hook. The tail is tied in with a red calf tail, with a yellow wool body, tapered to the head. It's a little bit thicker towards the thorax, and has a nice white calf over wing, with some reddish brown hackle up front from just a regular cock hackle. It's an excellent streamer, particularly effective for trout. It was originally tied around the Spokane, Washington area. I don't have any information on the original tire or dates, but judging by the materials used, I'm guessing somewhere in the 40s, 50s. That's the American Coachman. I'm just taking a minute to check the stream out here. I noticed that the seems to be dropping a bit on your guys' end. Yeah, everything seems fine. All good, Doug. You notice any problem with the stream quality? Because it looks like it dropped out a few times on me there. Looks okay on my end here. I just noticed that my counter's all reset several times. Yeah, so we're going to do the same thing. This time we're just going to be using bucktail instead of calftail. Okay, weird. Thinking that's probably why my view counts are down a little bit this morning, because the YouTube's doesn't like it if your stream's not a decent quality coming in. That could just be Starlink flaking out a little bit. Is what it is. Well, keep trying and persevere. Okay, have some nice red bucktail. Let's get this guy out of the... Hey wee man, how's it going, mate? Morning to you. There's the one we just did. It's a American Coachman. Nice medium-sized streamer. The yellow and the red and white just always seems to upset things and cause them to bite. So we're doing the same thing this time. I'm going to be doing it with bucktail tail instead of calftail, and we can excuse me. Calls for some tea. Yep, I'm just gonna do this one on bucktail instead of calftail. The original recipe calls for bucktail, and then later recipes call for, calftail, and then later recipes call for bucktail. So at some point, someone, thank you. Yeah, I got a couple up there. Some of them are behind the membership wall, but they'll be coming out to public pretty quick here. Okay, this one's a little on the larger side. Is that the tip? One second, this bucktail broke in half, so I'm just trying to figure out which side's the center and which side's the top. That looks like the tip. Okay, so we're gonna use this. Nice, like bright crimson, eh? Look at that. So we don't need a whole lot, because this is just for the tail. Kind of feels sad pulling these larger fibers out, so I'm gonna try and grab some of these. I was gonna say some smaller ones, but they all look about the same size. Okay, we're just gonna go with it, and then I'll stack this and make use of what we got. Because yeah, these are way longer than what we need. We just need enough for a tail. That's probably too much. Wow, look at the size of those. I can make some nice streamers out of this piece. I didn't realize how long this bucktail was. Wow, look at that. That's crazy. Definitely oversized for what we're using this for. But this is the red bucktail I got, so this is what we're using. Okay, just gonna fight with this for a second. I dropped my scissors, so I'm gonna use my backup here. Wouldn't be a Nimby fly tying stream if I didn't drop my tools. What a beautiful little piece of deer. It's nice and flat, but yeah, the hair straighteners work great for, especially for calf tail, where it's all cattywampus everywhere. This stuff's pretty. I mean, for bucktail, that's pretty straight. It almost looks like synthetic. It's playing ball so well. Okay, so we're just gonna take away any of the under fur, but I don't really see a whole lot in here. It's a really clean bucktail. Wow. That's been in my box for years too, and I haven't really used much of it. If I knew it was such a nice bucktail, I probably would have used that for some salmon and steelhead streamers. Oh, I guess that's what we're going to be using it for. That's crazy. This is really nice stuff. It's incredibly long. Just getting rid of some of the wispier ones. Alright. This is really long stuff, but we're going to attempt to stack it a bit for a tail here. Oh, does it like puff it out nice? I used to hair dry my flies after, actually. But I haven't done that in a good while. Don't mind me, I'm just going to do this over here because this is like 3 times longer than my hair stacker. It doesn't have to be perfect, I just want to get it better than it was, just because there's so many fibers on this. Oh, really? I'll have to try that. I do like my squirrel. Okay. Not sure how that turned out, but we're going to find out right now. Eh? No, it doesn't look that bad. I'm going to lose a lot of hair here, though. It's going to be sad. It's probably easier to get your material out, eh? I'm going to keep these in case we do another one and I can restack them. No sense in throwing them out. So I don't need a lot, I just need enough for the tail. That is ridiculous. Ridiculous. Look at the size of that. Man, look at that. That's a long, straight, poofy. It's incredibly straight for bucktail. Oh, I don't even have any thread on. What am I? Come on, Nimby. You're losing it here. Didn't even start my thread yet. I don't want to put this down because it's so nicely packed now. Do as I say, not as I do. Alright, that's good. Well, we're making it work. It must have been. That's impressively nice stuff. And normally, like, I wasn't expecting it just because normally when you buy dyed bucktails, they're not the nicest quality. Like the premium bucktails are typically the ones that get saved for just the white and, you know, the regular. And the really, really dyed stuff that you pick up is typically the kind of medium to lower quality ones, just because the dye will hide a lot of imperfections and other problems. Thread's getting a little twisty there, so I'm just gonna unravel it. Just throwing in a thread base. Hey, good to have you, Mr. Matty. You had a good chuckle over your shorty, your little one tooting at you with the fan there. That was hilarious. I had to watch it a good 3 times to understand what was going on, but once I got it, it was a good chuckle. Okay, so we're gonna do this the working body length, which is basically my thread wrap there. Maddie would appreciate this beautiful bucktail. I got lots of small ones. It's just like as the years go by, finding really nice premium material is harder and harder, especially in fly shops. Seems like I get excited about stuff I would have passed away years ago. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna be holding this back and tying it in. Yeah, holiday stuff with a little one around is always 3 times more work than you expect it to be. Ask me how I know. Oh, come on, bobbin. I'm just lightly tying this in to keep it from poofing. I need to tighten my bobbin up. It keeps loosening on me. There we go. I don't normally use this bobbin, but it was, yeah, I think we all are, mate. We all ate too much good food, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, I need to tighten this. I don't use this bobbin as often, but it was already spun up with this thread, so I decided just to run with it. I normally run my synthetics and GSP through this one. Oh, so slippy. Come on, bobbin. I'm just doing that really just to build the body up a hair. I mean, it's really not necessary, but we've got all this beautiful bucktail. Yeah, check out this bucktail, man. It's just a dyed piece that I've had in my collection for God knows how long, years. But like the size and how straight and beautiful this is for like a dyed bucktail, it's gorgeous. I mean, look at that. You make some crazy streamers out of that. It's just it, and it feels nice too. It's just nice and soft, buttery. But yeah, normally when I buy dyed stuff, it's like meh. You know, the quality's like kind of on the floor. I almost feel like saving that for spinning some. We'll put you off to the side here. Maybe I'll use you for something. Yeah, it's just not as easy as it once was to find good, buttery, smooth bucktail anymore. I was just surprised when it was a red dyed bucktail that was like that. Like I said, generally speaking, your dyed stuff's kind of the mid-range to lower quality. Just because the dye will hide a lot of imperfections, and not that they can get away with something, but um, You know, you save your premium stuff for your naturals. Sorry, just grabbing my wool here. So we're using this yellow punch card wool. And I'm not going to grab as much as I did last time because it was wasteful. Let's go with about 2 hand lengths. That should do it. And I'm just going to bring that right up to the tail. 3 good wraps to hold it in place, and then back. Get that in the material clip. We're going to rotary this, so I'm going to get a couple half hitches on that to hold it in place. There would be. Okay. So yellow wool body, red bucktail, and we'll get white bucktail for the wing. This is American Coachman for those jumping in. Figure with a name like that, it would be red, white, and blue. We just want touching turns, so we're definitely covering up all the black thread base. But that did help to get us a nice body build up there. I'm going to leave myself a little bit more room than the last fly. And for this part here, I'm going to be back wrapping. I'm going to be going segmented, so I'm not touching. I'm leaving a space in between each wrap. Going back to about the 3rd mark, which should be about right here. And then when I wrap this way, I'm going to get it to try and fall into those in between wraps. So we end up with 1 wrap thickness, but we're going 2 directions. And that'll just help us build up just a little bit of a thorax lump there. It helps the wings stay up. I think it just gives it a better profile. That's just a habit I've gotten into over the years. Okay, I'll get that wing going. Speaking of beautiful bucktails, this one's really nice too. Should dig out some of my big boy hooks and do some big old crazy bucktail streamers for muskie or something. But yeah, this one's got some really nice fur on it too. Not quite as nice as that other one. It's definitely a little coarser. The other one's like butter smooth. But we're just gonna grab from the middle section of your tail here is typically your best for overwings. It has a little bit of poof to it, but not enough to make everything crazy on you. We don't need a lot. We're just going for just an overwing. I'm going to grab a little more than I think I need because we're going to be thinning this out a good bit. And I'm going to stack it as well. So, you can always thin it out. It's easier to thin it out than to add to it. And a little tea before we continue. That's true. That's one of my favorite colors, actually. That kind of tawny, chestnutty brown. I really like that. It just tickles my fancy. Okay, I'm just gonna get the main fluff out of here because I don't want it all over myself. And I'll do the rest up by the camera here. There we go. For bucktail, this one's not horrible. Some of them have a lot of under fur. This one's kind of medium. Depends on what time of year it was harvested, and you know, every animal's different too, right? Come on. Sorry. There seems to be more and more every time I run it through here. Yeah, there's even more. We can't use those thin ones anyway. They're just going to come out when we stack it, so best to get rid of them. I could actually put those aside, like that's long enough for wings, so in hindsight I could have saved that like I did with the flies yesterday. I made a second wing out of it, because a lot of them are long enough to make a wing. But we're already crossed that bridge. Wow, it's like never stopping. Come on. This is why you take a little bit more than you think you need, because you end up cleaning out a lot more. Alright, I think that's probably good. Yeah, that's looking pretty solid now. Here's some smaller ones here. Hopefully they'll behave themselves in the stacker. This is a bit long, so I'm just going to do this on my desk here. Oop. Well, that wasn't good. Bounced it right out of my stacker. 1 second. Come on. You want to become a pretty little wing, don't you? Hey. It's all this bouncing around. Bull bunk. Yeah, this little kind of corkscrew waviness of this particular bucktail has is a little bit on the annoying side for stacking, because it likes to grab the fibers and not play ball as well. There's a handful of smaller ones in here too I need to get rid of. Sorry guys, I'm fussing a little much. This is just an overwing. I really don't have to go this detailed, but here we are. This should give us a nice, somewhat stacked wing. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. Oh, cool. What are you gonna see? I know Avatar's coming out. How's Utopia? Woo! Yeah, I gotta see that. Good to have you in, Tyler. I don't know if I missed you there. Yeah, you have to tell me how awesome it is. I mean, I don't know how it can't be awesome. It's Utopia, but hopefully they didn't mess it up. Love me some Judy and Nick. So we want to have this tail end kind of lining up between the butt and the middle tail there. So like right there. I'm gonna lose a lot of this bucktail in a sec here. Just tell. That's okay. Only matters what's tied in. Okay, soft wrap on top. We're gonna do one more. I get asked that question quite a bit, and I have a little bit different take on it than most people that would probably give you advice, so take my advice with a bit of a grain of salt, but it's just my personal take on it. Just gonna change this music here 1 second. It's something a little lower key. So I really think you should start with, there's basically, when you break down fly tying thread, it's its own animal. There's two different types, really. There's a third, but there's basically two types. So you have your round thread, which is like a uni thread or a Danville's. Okay, and that's like your regular kind of sewing thread, basically. It's round, it's like a rope. Okay, so when you're wrapping it, it's just like wrapping a rope, like your finger, like a cord. It's corded. Yeah, I like to use a uni for, well, as you can tell, for most things, because it's just the way I grew up tying, and it's traditional and yada yada. The other type of thread is called GSP. Do I have any GSP kicking around? 1 second here. I'll see if I got some. Ugh. Pretty sure this is GSP, but I think my label fell off. Nope, that's tinsel. 1 second. Yeah, UTC. Sorry, guys. Just trying to give Tyler some advice here. Okay, so this is a UTC, or this is a GSP, so that stands for gel spun thread. And what gel spun is it comes out flat like a ribbon almost. So it's more like a floss, and it's not corded up like a rope. It comes out almost like a tie-down strap, like if you were to look at it really close up. So the nice thing about something like a flat ribbon like that, and it's way stronger, like that's why a lot of fly shops will recommend this to you over the traditional thread, because you'll break your thread less with this. The downside of that is it's just like a tie-down strap. Like, you can put a lot of force on it before it snaps. But the downside of that is you don't learn thread control the same, because you can over torque it, and you don't have any consequence for that. Where this, if you over torque, what about the wire? Sorry, which wire were you talking about? But yeah, if you over torque like a standard classic wax, you can go like, most companies have their own, like this is Semperfly classic wax thread A-dot. It's almost yeah, you can split a flat thread. That's one thing you can't do with, so if you're gonna do any splitting for dubbing, then you kind of need a GSP for that. There's nothing bad with GSP. I'm not putting it down. It's just, I feel like if you're learning to tie, get a 6/0, actually just what I'm tying with now. Get a 6/0 uni, or a 6/0 Semperfly, or whatever, some kind of classic waxed round thread. 6/8. 8's a lot thinner, and you'll break it. If you can tie well with an 8, or sorry, if you can tie well with a 6, then you can move to an 8, and you'll have a lot less thread buildup. That's the other thing with the GSPs, you'll have a lot less thread buildup because it lays flat. So it's more forgiving in your tying. You don't make as many mistakes with it, but you also don't learn about those mistakes. So it's a little bit of a 6 of one, half a dozen the other. Yeah, that's the whole idea, is that it teaches you to be more careful. But like I said, there's a fine line between teaching yourself a skill and getting overly frustrated with not getting it. So that's why a lot of fly shops will say, you know, go with the GSP, because it's a friendlier thread. You can make a lot more mistakes with it and your fly will still turn out fine. You can have it wrap flat so you don't build up as much bulk, so you don't get massive heads and things like that as easily. You can twist it, so you just take your bobbin and spin it, and if you spin it enough, that flat thread, just like spinning a tie-down strap, will cord it up and it'll become round. So you can use it as a round thread or a flat thread. So it's incredibly versatile. Um, the downside is, though, that's true. Yeah, you can start off with a cheap bobbin, like if you're just starting off, because you're probably not going to wear out a cheap bobbin within, you know, a couple hundred flies. But like do I have a cheap bobbin kicking around here? Yes, I do. Ugh. This is your, oh, I dropped my wire out of it. This is your box standard cheap. You're going to see these at the store, like made in India. Most of these are Sunrise Company bobbins, but sorry, I'm just going to get the lead back in here so it doesn't get all kinked up. There we go. So your cheap standard bobbins are just going to have a hardened steel tube that's flared out on either end. And what will end up happening, especially if you put GSP thread in this, you will destroy it in pretty short order. You might get 50 to 100 flies, and this will be garbage. Because the GSP thread is so hard, it'll end up cutting as you're wrapping, especially if you always wrap in one direction. You'll end up cutting a groove in this from the thread coming through in the same spot all the time. And it'll end up cutting a little groove, and then as your thread whips around that groove, it'll grab your thread and cut it. So you'll be tying, everything will be good, and all of a sudden, poink, it'll just break your thread, and you're like, what happened? That's what happened. You've wrecked your bobbin. So this is exactly what happened to this bobbin. So this bobbin only goes with lead now. So I use it to put my lead on flies because I wrecked it with GSP thread. That's the other downside, is the GSP thread will eat up your bobbin. So you need to have this is a ceramic bobbin, so it looks like plastic, but it's actually a ceramic tube. So the GSP thread won't eat this one up. Or you can go with somewhere in the middle, which is a little bit cheaper, where you have a ceramic bead inside the end of the tube. This one only has a bead on one end and not the other. You don't need a bead. You don't need a bead on either end. This one has a bead on both ends. This one I use generally for my thicker threads, but it has a bead on both ends. As far as the good bobbin thing goes, like if you're just starting out, mate, I'd go middle of the road. Like this one, like the difference in price between, sorry, I just got my stuff all over. The difference in price between this bobbin was about $3 to this bobbin, which only has the one bead in the tip, is only about $3 difference. This one you can pick up for about $6. This one you can pick up for $3. I've tied hundreds, if not thousands, of flies with this bobbin. It hasn't worn out yet, and it's only $3 more. Then you can go up to a bobbin like this one, which is going to run you 15 to 20-ish range. This is not a high-end bobbin, but it's like higher end. This one is actually one of my old mentor's bobbins, but these kind of full ceramic tubes, you're looking $15 to $20, maybe up in the 30-something range. And bobbins are like anything else in life. You can spend as much money as you want. You can get up into the hundreds of dollars for really high-end bobbins. I wouldn't recommend going any higher than, say, the $15 mark for a bobbin when you're just starting, because you're just starting. It's like having a world-class paintbrush set. When you're just learning to paint, you're probably going to wreck the brushes before you realize the difference between a good quality brush and a medium quality brush. So I'd recommend that you start off with a medium range bobbin like this guy. which has a bead in the tip or a bead on both ends, one or the other, or both. You'll tie hundreds, if not thousands, of flies before you wear this out, and you can adjust tension on the bars, and you can it'll work with almost any thread you put into it. This one specifically actually is adjustable. This barrel, it can slide. I'm not sure if it'll do it on me. I don't want to do it right now, but you can see there's a little gap there, so I can extend and shorten this. That's a nice feature, not necessary, but it's nice. Don't really use it too often, but with some flies it's nice to either have a stubby one, like this one's pretty stubby, or a longer one. I'd recommend going with a, somewhere in the $10 to $12 range for a bobbin, so you're not going too cheap, you're not going too expensive, and spending the rest of the money on better thread and better material, because you're going to tie more flies and you're going to get better at fly tying the more you tie it compared to slightly better bobbin. Because yeah, I've literally tied. Yeah, that's the other thing. Depending on the thread that you get, like Wee Man said there, that it has to come off smooth. I've used these bobbins so much that they're nice and smooth for where they connect to the thread bobbin itself there. But when you're buying a new one, if there's any catches or defects in that spot, or even just the label, sometimes you'll have to pull the label off because it's catching as it's moving around. So just when you have it on there, just give it a good, couple twists and just feel with your fingers. And if you feel it as you're spinning it around that it's like, and it's catching in one spot, take a look at it, see if you can fix that, because it's going to drive you nuts. A little bit better bobbin, like in the $20, $30, $40 range, is going to solve those kind of problems, because it'll normally have a throughput shaft and then it'll tension the bobbin, so it'll get rid of a lot of those problems. Again, as you go up in price range, what the bobbin manufacturers are trying to do is they're trying to solve a lot of those common problems for you. So sometimes that's a good thing when you're learning. Sometimes it's too much training wheels, in my opinion. I think you will learn more about the craft using cheaper, more entry-level bobbins like this, because the mistakes will be a lot more evident to you. Like you'll struggle a bit more, and with that struggle you'll become a better tyer. As long as you're not the type of person that'll get frustrated and quit. But it's kind of like if you start a kid off, watercolor painting, right? We've all seen those dollar store watercolor paint sets that you get, and they're kind of garbage, and the paintbrush is kind of garbage, but that's where we all start, right? You don't buy them, a $200 watercolor paint set with like mink fur end bristles and things like that when the kid's just starting to learn. You buy them a really hard nylon bristle brush, that they can pound and mix the paint together, because they're going to wreck anything that's high quality. Not saying that you're going to finger paint your first couple flies, but basically you are. We're all going to make the same mistakes when we start off, and making those mistakes is part of the whole process. So the more, in my opinion, again, the more training wheels you have, the more that you're going to skip out on those things. And then when you switch from, say, a GSP to like an A-dot round thread, you'll snap this. You'll snap it like crazy. It'll drive you nuts, because you're not used to that thread control, right? You'll feel like you don't know what you're doing wrong. It's just the thread's always breaking on you. I'm pretty sure the fly shop's going to tell you to go GSP. It's not a bad choice. It's just, in my opinion, you're going to lose that gap between making good flies right off the hop, or easier to tie flies off the hop, and becoming a really good fly tyer. that gap is going to be harder for you to learn. So it depends on where you want to go with your fly tying journey too, right? There's no right or wrong answers with any of that. If you want to just tie some flies and whip some stuff together and catch some fish, yeah, get some GSP, whip some stuff up. There's no wrong way to do that. If this is something that you want to really put some money and some effort into, and it's something you want to grow and get better at, then I suggest getting a little bit higher, not necessarily higher quality material, but working towards that aspect. So like Wee Man said, you know, get a decent bobbin, right? Don't need to go and get like a right bobbin right off the start, or one of sorry, my brain shut off for names there for a second. Like one of Brian's bobbins. I don't know the price off the top of my head, but I think they're somewhere around 60-70 bucks. And they do a lot of things, and they solve a lot of those little problems. But if you don't start at that place, you'll never know that those problems even exist. I hope that makes sense to you. It's kind of the same reason you don't buy someone a really nice bicycle when they're learning to ride a bike. You know, you buy them a smaller bike with some heavy metal tubes and some training wheels. And they're going to knock it over, and they're going to wreck the handlebars, and they're going to wreck the hand grips. And they're going to get frustrated. But if they were driving a Olympic style speed bike, they would have wrecked that thing the first time they dropped it over and shattered the carbon fiber body. So, can you start with that kind of gear? Yeah, of course, but you're not going to understand why that gear is the way it is, right? And in my opinion, it's going to confuse you a lot more than if you start off with the beginner stuff. There's a reason it's beginner stuff, right? Hopefully that makes sense to you. I'm kind of yabbering on more than I need to about it. So just made a little dimples in that with the hemostats. Because the rachis on these is a little bit on the thick side. The other thing to remember too is like some of the best tires in the world are in places like Africa, Kenya. You know, they're the ones that are production tying, making thousands a day. Well, hundreds, maybe not thousands, but definitely hundreds. And those guys, like if you look at the gear they use, you know, it's like, it's just box standard, basic, get the job done for that role. And there's nothing wrong with getting really, really nice gear. But in my opinion, it should solve a problem for you. So if you're tying with just like regular uni thread like this, you're not going to have the problem of GSP thread cutting your bobbins all up, right? Like that first bobbin I showed you that has a lead in it, I tied thousands, if not tens of thousands of flies with regular uni thread, and then I switched over to a spool of GSP and I destroyed it in a week. And I didn't know. I had no idea, and I was so confused. I'm like, this is one of my favorite bobbins. It's like a $3 bobbin. But I'm kind of sad. I've had this bobbin forever. And it didn't take long. It really only took like a dozen flies, and the thing was garbage. And part of the reason that it didn't destroy itself with the uni thread is the more you use something too. Scissors are kind of that way in a way, as long as you're sharpening them. But the more you use something, like I ran kilometers of thread through that bobbin, and because it was just round thread and it didn't leave any grooves in it, it was beautifully polished on the inside. Like it was nice and smooth. So a lot of times the more often you use material and tools, they'll kind of wear in, right? It's kind of like a pair of shoes. But with a lot of the more modern synthetic stuff, like Wee Man said, I would recommend getting like a moderate bobbin that has those features in it. So that when you are doing that kind of thing, you're not surprised that all of a sudden, hey, your favorite bobbin is now garbage. So it's a little easier to, even though it's not necessary for the round thread, to just get it anyway. Sorry guys, kind of went off on a thread tangent there. God, I could make videos and videos and videos on thread. So much stuff to cover on thread. Okay, so we're gonna get this wrapped up. I call for 5 wraps. I think my last one I got 4. I got 1 there. And we're gonna tie it back in a wet style. But hopefully that helps you out there. So my opinion on it is going to be different than most of the people you're going to talk to in the fly shops or Tyler. Mostly I think because the fly shop wants you to be happy with your purchase at the time. And if you buy something that's going to break as you're tying your first flies, you're not going to be having a good time. So I understand their reasoning. Like I said, there's no wrong answer there. It's just my opinion is going to be a little different than most. Yeah, enjoy Zootopia, man. I'm super excited for you. I want to see that as well. Freaking love Zootopia. That does remind me that I really need to probably make a couple videos on thread types and when to use what. And there's your American Coachman tied with bucktail instead of calftail. Just making the head a little smoother here. I like the shape of it, so we're going to go with that. And we'll use the whip finish here. Oh, a little fluff ball. No. It's okay. We'll get them off of there after. Thanks for subscribing, mate. I appreciate that. Always good to have another member hanging out. If you ever have any comments, questions, concerns, accusations, or just need a hand with any of your fly tying, shoot me a message. You can get a hold of me in our community channel, or by email, or even by snail mail. All my information's up in the doobly-doo. And I'd be happy to help you out. Okay, so we're just going to throw some head cement on here. And then we'll do some Sally Hansen's after. There's a good bit, a little bit more on that backside here. There's a good bit of acetone in the head cement, so that will thin out and soak the nail polish into the head of the fly. There we go. Okay, he's a little cattywampus, so let's try and straighten him out. Come on, boy. Oh, bend him a little too much there. I'm not bending him, I'm just moving him in the vise. Why won't you straighten out? Ah, good enough. Go down just a hair. Doesn't want to play ball. Okay, so that is a American Coachman. We're going to just do a rotation and spiel here while we let the head dry. That's the American Coachman. It's tied on a size 6, 2 times long hook. We have some red bucktail for the tail. We have a yellow punch card wool yarn for the body with a slight taper, a little bit thicker up by the thorax, with a white bucktail overwing, and some reddish brown regular rooster hackle up front. Just tying a little bit wet style, a little bit back. And that is your American Coachman. It's an excellent streamer, particularly effective for trout. It's an older pattern. I don't have the original tire down, but it looks like it's roughly from about the 40s to 50s. So 1940, give or take. From the Spokane, Washington area, right around there. Cool little fly. Very effective, I find, for if you're just going to use it as a searching pattern. The red, yellow, and white really seem to upset them enough for them to strike at it. Nice little tractor pattern. There we go, there's our 2 coachmen today. So we got one tied in, ooh, where did my other one go? There he is. We got one tied in bucktail, and one tied in calftail. So there's our calftail, it's a lot more poofy. And you can see our bucktail there. So depending on what you're shooting for, they each have their benefits. The bucktail is going to float a little bit better, push a little more water, it's a little stiffer. The calftail is going to have a lot more lively movement to it in the water. But both very effective. No worries, Tyler. Hopefully you got my little spiel there, if that makes sense for you and helps you out a bit. I don't think any guys in the fly shop are really going to steer you wrong. They want you to enjoy the hobby, right? I wouldn't recommend dropping a large amount of money on a bobbin, especially when you're just starting. $12 to $20 range is more than good enough. Oh yeah, all good, mate. I'm actually just wrapping up here, so thanks for stopping in, hanging out, and I hope your first trip to the fly shop works out real well for you. Hit me up tomorrow and let me know how it goes, eh? Oh, just finishing up my tea. It's good tea. 7:30 in the morning though. So we're gonna get the day moving, start a fire. I got a driveway to shovel too. And get my work day moving. But thanks all. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with me and tying some, I guess, streamer flies this morning. Later, wee man. Have a good morning today. Enjoy your Boxing Day. Yeah, I gotta check out all the sales and stuff too. I forgot all about that.